You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Hey, how's it going, Jeremiah?
Episode 62, man.
62.
We are here with Eldon Pitts. Eldon is a man. He is like the most interesting man in Henry County at this point.
No, not really.
Except he's drinking water and not Dos Equis.
Yeah, you know, it's by Henry County standards. He's the most interesting guy we have. Our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about folks who are involved in politics. We're going to promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and folks we just find interesting. So this is going to be. We were talking to Eldon a little bit before we started recording, and this is going to be a story that has everything. It's got politics in it. It's got crime in it. It's got drama. It's there's all kinds of stuff in the Kathleen Winters story.
Big mystery and everything you could want, really.
So this is it's almost like tinfoil time, but it really
yeah.
happened.
Yeah,
Your tinfoil time Tuesday night conspiracy theory show. This is the real deal.
Well, it definitely has that.
Yep. Those of you who don't know what Jeremiah's talking about, Tinfoil Time is the bonus podcast that you can get if you subscribe on our Patreon account, and it's me and my wife, Audrey, and we break down conspiracy theories every week, and I think this week it was one that I'd wanted to get to for a long time, and it was the conspiracy theory of the country of Finland does not exist, like the landmass itself. It just is not there.
Just one big fake story.
Yeah, so we started getting into it.
Part of the flat Earth.
It
has to do with. I listen.
It was wild.
I always listen to them. I'm entertained. I don't believe a thing you say, but I listen to them, and it had to do with something with Japanese fishing rights, cameras, and something with Russia.
Yeah. It was a roller coaster ride.
There's all kinds of stuff going on in there. So that's supported by the Patreon folks. We just did an interview that you're going to probably see, I'm guessing, in next week's Middletown paper, unless there's some huge news that breaks and we get bumped to the following week. But at some point, we're going to be in the Middletown news.
Should be next week, yes.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
It was fun. We did a little interview with Eldon, and then he's going to sit in here as the official historian of the movie. But between now and
a historian,
not the official one,
lead historian, I guess.
There you go, senior historian,
senior. That's for sure.
So we normally just kind of joke around here for a little bit. We're still waiting on Kandice to get here. She works out of town, so we're kind of stalling. We started a little late. We're taking a slow pace here as we're getting going. But the Memorial Day weekend, Dakota and I were scheduled to have a good full weekend of. Forced friendship. Saturday, you and I were going to get together and do a little shopping before the Indy 500.
That's right.
And then Monday, after the Indy 500, you and I were going to walk in the parade together.
Mm-hmm.
And how'd our weekend go?
Well, I skipped town.
Did you get arrested and couldn't get back?
Nope, that wasn't it. So we went. We go camping in Brookville, Eldon, and my wife and I do, and we've got a permanent site there, and every year, at every 3-day weekend holiday, so we do a golf cart poker run, and there's a big dance afterwards. Ooh. Yeah, and so we got down there, we're camping, and we're hanging out with all of our friends down there, and it was just like, the more that we thought about it, it just wasn't making sense, because I'm working during the July 4th one. Couldn't make it to that one. We're going to be on vacation during the Labor Day one. So this was the only one we're going to be able to make it to all summer. And I was like, what do I do? And I was like, I'm going to feel bad if I skip.
Well, you had basically a binding contract with your fans, and you had purchased tickets.
Yeah. That's how bad it was. Like
There was a covenant with.
I'd paid
with the world.
$80. There was $80, and then I thought, who do I know that might want to go? And I just texted Chase, and he's like, how much do you want for him? I was like, you're gonna pay for my dinner at the steakhouse that we go to for Jeremiah's bachelor party.
There you go. You might have did all right.
So was it fun? Was it a good Indy 500?
Oh, it was a great race. Yeah. So we left my house at 3:30 in the morning on race day, and we have our parking pass. We go down, and we were in line on 16th Street to get into the race at 4:50. Traffic was moving at 6 o'clock. We got into the track and into our spot at 6:45, and had a great time. Chase made it down. Chase had his very first Indy 500 experience, and he didn't have any concept. This is I tried to explain it to Dakota, and maybe someday he'll realize just what kind of crazy mass of people it is getting into that place. It's the largest non-religious gathering of people on the face of the earth.
I went once.
Seeing
year got rained out 3 days in a row.
1973.
Everybody that I was talking to, they're like, are you excited for the poker run? And I was like, we're not going to be able to go. We have to leave, tomorrow during the day. This is on Friday. And they're like, I'm like, we're going to the Indy 500 in the infield. And everybody I talked to, they were like, yeah, we did that once.
It's like a pilgrimage. You have to do it at least one time to experience it.
I thought, is it worth it? And I was like,
So were you in the infield?
Yeah. We have parking passes in turn 3, so we tailgate in the infield and hang out down there. And we have, we probably had 25 people at our tailgate that we entertained over the course of the time that we were there. And then I have seats. So Sarah and I had seats in turn 3. So we zip out. We go watch the race. We watch about 3/4 of the race from the stands and come back in and hang out. I was back home by 7 o'clock. I was wiped, but it was incredible. Fantastic race. It was a little different than what people have had in the past, but it was still up there. It was in the top 5 number of lead changes of all time. I think they tied the record or set the record for the most leaders in the history of the race. So it was fun. It was really a good Indy 500. Local guy finished second. Ed Carpenter finished second in the race. And Will Power had the most ridiculous victory celebration I've ever seen.
yeah, that was hilarious.
He got out of the car and drank the milk. He's lactose intolerant. He sat there and thought about it for a minute, and he did drink it.
Yep.
And then as he sprayed it or whatever, he got the princess or the queen. She's wearing glasses, and he covered her in milk.
Yeah, head to toe. She was soaked with milk.
Just
and
sitting
he's
there
like,
shocked.
he's supposed to give her a kiss afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Is what we talked
She's
about.
supposed to kiss him, yeah.
Yeah, and she was just like, It was hilarious.
So that was fun. So I enjoyed the race. As always, Memorial Day, my Memorial Day observance is going to the race and seeing taps and being a part of that. And there's you get to fly over and the troops are there. Come on in. Welcome. Kandice has arrived. She's arriving in the studio. So that's my Memorial Day thing. So the Newcastle has I know it's been reported as the biggest in the Midwest, if not the biggest in Indiana, Memorial Day parade. I've been to that thing about 3 times in my life because my ability to perk back up on the Monday after attending the race, I don't have that stamina. But Dakota did. You went to it. You attended as the chairman of the Libertarian Party.
Yep, that's right.
And it looked pretty big time.
Yeah, so I went out there, and I go there. I'm like, what should I wear, first of all? And I said, well, I guess I'm the chairman, so I should probably look a little bit professional. So I threw on a pair of blue jeans and my Libertarian polo, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to be too bad.
It's only going to be 98 degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I get there, and
Candice, you can put the headphones on if you want to, and we're on the air. You're good to go, so come on in.
So I'm talking to Lisa, who is our outreach director, and I'm like, what do you want me to do, Lisa? I'm here to work. And she says, you're going to be running around with a picture frame and asking people if they want their picture taken. And so we had picture frames that said hashtag make Henry County proud on them.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And we're giving them out to kids, and we had photographers taking their pictures, and it was really, really neat. Well, whenever she said you're going to be running around, I didn't expect to be literally running around.
Of course.
Yeah. In my jeans. It was an intense parade.
I've walked a lot of parades with Rex Bell, and normally we're about 3 to 4 floats or groups behind our group because you're talking. You walk a parade, and then you get talking to people, and then you're stuck.
Yeah, right.
And then you're running to catch up, and then you're doing it again. Parades are great for the community, but if you're walking the parade, it is the worst. It is the worst.
Never done that and don't intend to.
Lisa loves them. Lisa just absolutely loves parades.
I'm extroverted, but it's intense. It's a bit of a thrill to do, but man.
Yeah, it was.
Wears you out.
It was exhausting. And
this one has gotten a little bit longer. I don't know, what is it, about an hour and a quarter now or something? It's
well, yeah, we started right in the heart of downtown, and then we ended up at the end of Bundy Avenue by the bank, and we were there, and the only vehicle we had was Lisa's Fiat 500, and there's like 10 of us. It was like, well, how am I getting back to my truck now?
You're stuck. So I got a text the next day that said, "Hey, we won," and I didn't even know there was an award.
I didn't either.
And you guys were voted by the judges for being the most on theme and won a $100 prize from the Chamber of Commerce. It was crazy. I had no clue of anything that was going on. So Lisa told me, "Hey, I'm gonna have some pictures to bring by. I need you to put them on Facebook." And I'm totally lost to the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know where I saw that. Oh, I think I got an email from Chamber of Commerce, I think, and
yep.
Then I sent you a message.
Yeah, it was great, and they did a fantastic job. I had nothing to do with it, but they made the party look
good.
It was really neat.
People really loved it.
The pictures were fantastic.
Yeah, they were. I saw those.
Yeah, the pictures turned out great, and we handed out candles, so that was a little bit different. We're a political party, so we weren't going to hand out candy to the kids that can't vote. So we were So Lisa made a bunch of candles, and we stapled a business card to them that had a QR code that went to our website, and we handed those out to the parents, and people loved that. It was really interesting.
People are razzing me in here saying they expect to see a Jeremiah Morrell parade in the float. Not for Memorial Day. That's not. That's what I said earlier. We do the Indy 500, but Memorial Day, you can't do it. So this weekend, Dakota and I, he skipped out on me last weekend. This weekend, I'm truly forcing my friendship, and we're going out of state together.
This one's not that much forced. This is
you're
one
actually
I
on board
really want to do. Yeah.
Big bachelor party this weekend coming up.
We're taking Jeremiah to Nashville for his bachelor party, just like he took me for mine. And it's so much fun. If you ever get the chance to go to Nashville.
Tennessee.
It's amazing.
We're going to the one in Tennessee, right? You're
not in
Indiana.
Indiana. No. Yeah, it's
so you're not
it's a
going
good
to Little
trip.
Nashville.
No, we're going to the big Nash Vegas.
So everybody can be prepared for all the stories on next week's show.
We won't tell. There won't be any stories to tell.
It's just Bible study.
It's a gag order. Yeah.
You're watching for those.
Yeah.
It's your teaser for next week.
That's right.
All right, so let's get down to the business at hand here. I've been aware of this for a while, having grown up in this community. There's a young lady that disappeared a little over 100 years ago named Catherine Winters. how old was she, Eldon, when she disappeared? 9-year-old girl from Newcastle, Indiana, and it's an unsolved missing persons case. Is that accurate?
Some of us think we've solved it, but
all right.
Not 100%.
It might be breaking news tonight.
No, it's not 100% proof, but
all right.
Close as we'll ever get, I think.
So that story, the story of Catherine Winters and her disappearance, got Kandice's attention, who's joined us now. And from this tale, you said this is going to be a good play, right? So we went from real world to play, and now ultimately we're going to talk about it, but it goes to a movie.
Right.
And it's been almost, it's been over 2 years now.
Right. I started writing it in the fall of 2015. So we're quickly approaching 3 years on the full project. We performed the play in February. That may have been when we started rehearsing. It was
March or April of 2016.
Yeah, 2016. We sold out 5 shows.
You guys perform at the Geyer Opera House in Louisville?
House, yes. They gave us the opportunity to do it there, and we casted it, and we rehearsed for 6 to 9 weeks. We had a band. Eldon was in the band. And, like I said, it sold out 5 shows, and we had a professional come and tape one of our dress rehearsals, and he was just blown away. Bobby Darko is his name, and he was just blown away with it, and he kind of jokingly mentioned that we should do a movie. A little while later, Reese Horan, a cast member, she seconded that. She was like, oh, we should totally do a movie. And we were all so close at that point, and Catherine Winters has been such a hot story in Henry County for 105 years. So it just seemed like a really great idea to just go ahead and start production of a movie.
So have you written multiple plays in the past, or was this a new thing for you?
No, I had never written. I had never directed. I had merely starred. I craved the limelight for 20 years. So what really happened in the very beginning was I went to a show at the Geyer. I've been active out there for about 20 years since I was in high school. And one of the playwrights there that was directing a show that my children were in, he had written the show, not Unicorn Shoes. What was the first one that Bud did?
Oh, Monsters.
Monsters Come Out of the Closet. Yeah. So I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it, and I was really itching to get back into the Geyer anyway. And so I started writing it. I actually wrote it in the notes app of my iPhone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just sat there and went.
Right.
You said challenge accepted.
Right.
Catherine, you mean?
Yeah, started writing Catherine, yes.
Yeah, you did.
Not Monsters. Bud wrote that one.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I found out.
Yeah.
That's the way you'd written it.
Right. And so I went to a board meeting at the Geyer and told them that I had this play and I'd really like to do it. And of course, they had heard of Catherine Winters, so they gave us the chance, and it was a sellout, literally. So it was pretty good feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wrote a play when I was in high school. Well, actually, it was a sketch show. It was called "We're Bringing Moderately Attractive Back," and it did not sell out. So you are a much more successful writer than I.
We actually had to add 2 shows, and once we added the 2 shows, it just got really hectic.
All right, we are back recording live. We had a little momentary interruption. The batteries in the recorder died, so if you're watching on the Facebook Live, we apologize for that. The panic and Dakota running away should be your explanation of what happened.
I blame Chris Spangle because he was helping me with the board and things this week. So,
well, I have to admit, the Zoom was showing that it had 1 bar, but the other one always. This is only our 3rd week with this Zoom, and I thought, it says it can record for thousands of hours, and not the
it'll
problem.
be fine.
So I didn't think it was really that low, but boom, it was just gone. So now we know. All right, so let's get some backstory.
I was gonna say one thing.
Yes, sir.
That Kandice was talking about the play, and she contacted me and to see if I wanted to play bass, and you already had, I think, Larry Abrams and Tim Wilkinson,
Right.
to play, and it was interesting because it wasn't a musical, so we had to create some music for scenes that you wanted to do for the show. Which
it's somewhat uncommon to do a play with live music now, I would imagine, right? I mean, you're not always doing a live
dramatic
orchestra.
play, yeah. Right. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, since it wasn't a musical.
There were no lyrics. We just had instrumentals, but
We had nothing to read, so we did find some gypsy music, and then it worked out really well.
Does the Geyer have an opera pit?
no.
They do not, unlike Bundy Auditorium.
Yeah.
But on
That's
this,
what I was thinking of. I couldn't remember which one it was.
have you not been out there?
I've been to the Geyer. Yeah, I couldn't remember, but it's been a long time. I think that I was in the play Wilbur out there.
Oh,
And I was the fat bully pig.
when was that?
Were you in a
gosh.
fat suit, or was this just before you transitioned over to athlete?
No, I had a pillow stuffed in a pink shirt, and yeah.
Yeah, the orchestra's off to the side, and the structure they actually built.
Yeah, we call it the pit still, but
And they can use it now also for shows if they need an upper level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really nice, and it's covered, with, and it works out really well.
It was really, sentimental to me because, of course, I have a history of being out at the Geyer, but then also just the age of the Geyer is, I think it's 1905.
1901.
1901. So it also has its own.
It's such a cool
plethora
building,
of
too.
stories.
It is.
It's awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful. We always describe the smell. I mean, it's got this smell, and it's not a great smell, but it is just it's a smell. And when you're there, you're just kind of
You said the smell, and I remembered it smelling bad, and I was like,
you learn to love it.
what
It's
did
acquired
they
smell.
change something?
But it's very, very, very old. There's signatures on the wall as far back as 1914 actually.
Really?
That there's one as you're going down to the backstage. There's a spot that they've painted it again because it had faded so much, but it says please do not spit on the floor from when they used to spit tobacco.
I guess I've never looked at all those to see what the oldest one.
I believe
was on there.
I believe it's 1914 that the oldest one is written on the door as you're going back into the dressing rooms, and of course it's haunted and
It is.
there's
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of stories. And
It definitely is.
oh, it definitely is.
I think they have a regular ghost hunters group that makes regular trips from Indianapolis. I'm not
That's
sure
the
where they're
Phantom
from.
of the Opera.
We're gonna have to
They
check
need to
our
do that. Need to do that show there.
we have to check our studios for being haunted with all the equipment glitches we have around here.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably what it is.
But Eldon had touched on the music, and actually, there are two original pieces that were written when Catherine went missing as a sort of propaganda to help find her. So they used both of those, and they are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. I mean, of course, they've grown on us.
The way
but
we recorded them for the soundtrack,
Yeah. We've put our
they sound great, I think. But.
and we've learned to love them. But if you are a musician, they're very, and nothing against old hymnals, but they're very hymnal-esque.
Yeah, they're when I first heard them, they weren't that great to listen to. If somebody's singing it with piano.
Did you have original versions from the time that people had recorded, or did you have sheet music? What did you work from?
Sheet music. Yeah.
Just sheet music. You didn't have a recording, like a commercial recording or something somebody made.
No.
And one of the songs
It was
actually is titled
1913,
"Where is Catherine Winters?" Right?
Where did
Yes.
Catherine Winters go? Yeah.
Right.
Where did
and
Catherine Winters go?
it has lyrics that include, is she somewhere beneath the sod?
Oh my gosh!
I think that's the could we telephone to heaven? I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm not
like
sure.
Clapton
They're
inspired.
both creepy.
They're very creepy. They're very dark, very creepy. But then they have this, churchy type music with them, so it's a little. But we recorded some for the actual movie, and Tim Wilkinson, he took one of them and really kind of added some nice gypsy sound to it.
It goes into a minor key, and it's very dark, and it's great.
All right, so let's start from the beginning.
Let's reset for people that aren't familiar with the story. So we know we can play, but let's rewind to figure out what happened in 1913.
Yeah, we had somebody ask in the live stream already, who is Catherine Winters?
All right.
So we need to start from there.
1913, March 20th. Schools were out because of a measles outbreak. So Catherine was going to go sell some needles for a church charity.
Not hypodermic needles, but I'm assuming
Sewing needles.
It's 1913.
Oh, well, it's Newcastle. I don't know how long we've had this problem.
I wasn't
Eldon.
going to say it.
Sewing needles. Clarify that.
It was the 1913 version of a needle exchange.
She came from a nice family.
School
okay?
children giving
It wasn't
out
that kind of
needles.
needle.
Maybe it would have
Well.
been morphine needles in that era.
I'm
Right,
not
yeah.
sure how nice a family, but
Right.
dysfunctional family, apparently. To sell them for a charity, and about 9 o'clock she left home and was going to play with a friend, Helen Stretch, down on North 7th Street, who had a new dollhouse. And so the story was that she was walking back east on Broad Street, about the 1100 block, when a family friend named Dan Monroe saw her and talked to her. And then she went on home, and he was believed to be the last person to see her. But it was in one of the newspapers just a few days later, actually, that some boy that knew her had seen her at around 16th and Broad, at a livery stable up there watching some gypsies watering their horses.
So 16th and Broad, if we're thinking more current, there's a church there now. It used to be the old Martin Tire Firestone. Is that where 16th and Broad is?
Yeah. And this was on the south side of Broad where the gypsies were. And she lived just 3 blocks north of Broad Street. There on 16th Street.
We're talking about gypsies. What do we mean by that? Are we talking about like ethnic people like the Roma?
Yeah,
people.
Kandice knows more about that.
Roma was the best that we could conclude. Of course, they're gypsies. I mean, and we use that word in the sense of, they collect vagabonds and stuff along the way. So, we're not exactly positive, but we know that gypsies traveled through the area quite frequently.
Regularly,
yeah.
So that was a common occurrence.
And also in 1913, gypsies would have been socially on the same level as black people, people of different culture and religion, things like that. So it would have been very easy to point the finger at the gypsies as they were in town. They interviewed
the people that don't belong, basically.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Mm-hmm. It's over by the railroad tracks. It's in a very transient area. I would assume Broad Street at the time was still the main thoroughfare. It was,
yeah, and I'm not sure what the city limits were. They were a lot smaller, obviously, now than they are now. But so I'm not sure how far east the city limits went. Probably not a lot past 16th Street, probably. But and she lived just 3 blocks from there, so. She was just 3 blocks from home when she actually may have been seen last. And then when she didn't come home, her parents, apparently assuming she was still playing with some of her friends, didn't notify anybody until about 5 or 5:30 for some reason. I'm not sure why.
She went missing from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Well, yeah, she was supposed to be home at 11 or 12 for lunch. And why they waited that long, I'm not sure. Well, I know why they waited that long, but
but it was also kind of a different time then, where
free range and everything.
Yeah. So they got an automobile. It had started. I don't know when it started to rain, but they had some great flooding in the whole Midwest and Ohio Valley that night. That started. A lot of people were died in several days. So they found an automobile and they went out to try to find this group that had come through town. Got stuck in the mud, I think, probably a few times, and found the group somewhere between Economy and Hagerstown, I think. And
looking for the gypsies
right,
that had left.
Found the camp. They found the camp over there and searched it. Didn't find the girl, and so they went on. And in the ensuing time, private detectives got involved. One detective tracked some of these groups all the way to Pittsburgh and said he was convinced that they didn't kidnap the girl. So
yeah, there were a lot of private investigators.
There were several involved.
Yeah, that kept taking the case, and then they would go through all kinds of just researching and following and looking into things, and then they would quit, and then another private investigative firm would pick it up, and they would go through the exact same thing. People were following. These investigators were following people all across the country if they thought maybe there was a little bit of a chance, because it was the biggest news story in the nation at that point, right?
It was. It was in 70 newspapers. Rewards. William Randolph Hearst offered big reward, I think, from Chicago.
The newspaper publisher.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was 5,000 people that gathered in Chicago to try to sell things. Or no, it was the Boy Scouts, 5,000 Boy Scouts.
I'm not sure.
We're looking for her in Chicago. So it was a big deal. The factories in town, they let off of work.
They did that day. Actually, 4 days later, she disappeared. There was a special city council meeting, and they asked everybody to go out and search the next day. I assume that would have been on Tuesday after she disappeared.
Well, I would hope that Aaron Dickin would have the same sense.
They still have 100 years later, and we still have city council meetings on Mondays in Newcastle, by the way.
It was on Monday. It was a special meeting, though, so I'm not sure what day their regular meetings were. And so people did. 700 people. I'm not sure. Went out and searched the whole city.
Yeah, what I saw, what I found was 600 to 700 men and 400 plus women and children in Newcastle.
Glad that they separated that so that they keep track of how many men they had on working the case versus women.
Right, that's important. Right.
It was a different time, man.
Yes, it was a different time.
And then Dr. Winters made a film, and of course the movies were new, and so he made this film. You can find it on YouTube, and
I watched it.
It's interesting to see. There's a lot of footage in there that's not needed.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were like, they got this fancy camera, and they're like, we're going to film.
There's like
everything.
just 3 minutes straight of men silently walking out of a factory.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right, which I think I'm not
good-
sure. I'm not sure when that film was made.
a good 40% of the stuff we talk about on here is entirely unnecessary too. We have cool microphones and things to talk. So you got to go through that. You got to filter through our crap. Too.
I'm not sure if anyone knows exactly when that film was made, but I assume it couldn't have been 4 days later.
Right.
So I'm guessing that was all just someday the crew from Indianapolis was here in town and they shot people coming out of work, but it wasn't the actual search. I don't.
But when you think about the time period and what extreme they were going to find this little girl, I mean, moving pictures were brand new. I mean, within the last 10 years. And so,
state-of-the-art way to get the word out.
So, I mean, it would be like, us, having just, I don't even know what to compare it to, but just the highest technology available to find a missing person.
Broadcasting it from the International Space Station.
Right. I mean,
and it does look like the old newsreel, newsreel style of silent films. And we should say, I guess, that Dr. Winters, William A. Winters, was the girl's father, a dentist here in town. Bird Ritter Winters was her stepmother, and Catherine had a younger brother, Frankie, who was 2 years younger than she was. So that was the family.
And then there's the Ross Cooper,
William Ross Cooper, who had boarded at the Winters home for about 2 years.
Yep. And Catherine Winters' mother died of tuberculosis.
In Colorado, I believe, and she was from Wisconsin. Dr. Winters was from Illinois, but
So was the mother already gone at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a single father.
She died. I think when Catherine was.
She had a stepmom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Bird's mom also lived with them at the time as well, right?
She did for a while, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she should have been out there selling needles with her.
Yeah, right. So, the search went on. Mediums were involved. I'm sure they were getting all kinds of letters from people saying they could find her for a price, or for a fee.
Opportunistic.
Yeah.
Which mediums were huge back then.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Spiritualism was a big...
Yeah.
We have a medium, and he goes to visit a fortune teller in the movie as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours was... I'm doing the research for this, and I'm like, I need to find the Catherine Winters movie, okay? And so I just searched YouTube for Catherine Winters movie, and all I could find was a silent film, and I kept seeing it, and I was like, and it was like the first one, and then your guys' trailer would be underneath it, and the trailer looked so good that I was like, surely this isn't it.
Thank you.
It's a minute and a half, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it looked good. I was really, really impressed.
Antoine Mercury did our filming, and he directed on set. I would rehearse the actors prior to get the set ready. We had costuming, of course, some hair and makeup, but then he would come in and film, and he was just. His background is primarily in music videos, hip hop music videos, and for him to do something at this level that maybe he's done a couple other minor things. This was definitely his biggest project as far as film, but to see him use his music video experience to shoot this, I really think that it gave kind of a new. When you mix the new way of filming and the the hot new shots and things like that with our old sets. with our old costuming, with our dialogue that's very, 1910s.
Very period.
Right.
When you watch the trailer, you can tell that you guys definitely paid attention to your site selection, where you see the trim work on homes, and it's period correct, where it's early 1900s.
That was the most difficult thing of the entire project.
The basement. I mean, there's a scene where there's a basement staircase, and it looks exactly like. Probably wasn't that hard to find a basement. It looked like 1915 around this town, because we could just
could have came over here.
House. Yeah,
You're talking about the one where she is thrown down the stairs there. Pushed down
yeah,
the stairs.
there's a shot from behind a staircase that's
Right.
it's an open slat basement staircase.
Yeah, and you found that.
And
you
then-
found that location.
And then there's another location that you guys have in the that's an open field. It looks like it's an open park or a rolling area that looked really nice.
It is. That's a farm down by Knightstown.
And you've got no structures in those, so once again, it looks great for the period.
Yes,
just really good job with that.
We went to Metamora and filmed. That was a great place to do some period places. We shot in Knightstown. We shot in Connorsville. We actually had a period train that the Whitewater Valley Railroad let us use for a donation. And I mean, it's period, as close to period as we would be able to get. I think it's technically 1920s, but I mean,
Close enough for government.
right? When you're trying to get a whole train and train station, and the train station actually was period. It was a replica.
So did you shoot that in Connorsville?
Yes, we shot that in Connorsville.
It's an old Rushville depot that they moved.
They moved it. So
And
it was
it was furnished. It was perfect.
I like to say that a lot of this was one phone call away. I mean, it was, and Eldon like had 90% of the connections. Not even kidding you. I mean, anytime I would say, we need this. Well, I'll talk to so-and-so.
We've got a guy.
He got us judges' robes.
I've been around a long time.
Yeah, just anything you could think
You
of.
get to know a lot of people.
And of course, it's easy to obsess about this story. I mean, you're
It is
talking
really
to two
interesting.
people that, I mean, Eldon's been respectfully obsessed a little bit longer than me, but I mean, I was very, very, you couldn't stop
Before you were
thinking about-
born.
yeah. So then once you start working on a project, I mean, you get even more, involved in wanting it to be perfect. And of course it's not. I'm sure that we'll have plenty of critics out there, but it was, if nothing else, it was a fantastic project that brings light to a local story that people love to hear. So,
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, I have to say that the group did become like a family over the 2 years, and I've played for a lot of musicals, stage musicals, and 30 some different musicals since high school, and it's a lot of fun. You come in, you rehearse a few weeks, you do the show, and you go home, and I love doing those. They're great, but this was one of the greatest experiences, just watching them do what they did every day. The cast and crew were just phenomenal with the sets that they created, where we needed sets created, and the locations we were able to find, and have people willing to let us use them, sometimes for a donation, and that's fine, but because, like this Historical Society and the Whitewater Valley Railroad, because they need money too. So.
yeah.
So let's
But
get back.
they were great, and these people just created. I couldn't believe the sets that they created when we had to.
Yeah, one cool thing about the Catherine Winters story, there was a $1,000 reward for the capture or information leading to the capture of whoever took her, and I ran it through the inflation calculator, and $1,000 in 1913 is $25,175 in today's currency, which is insane to me. Like, I couldn't imagine a child going missing today and someone offering, $25,000 for the reward. That's not heard of. So, I mean, that kind of just tells you how big of a deal it was.
They did fundraisers to find her. They did all kinds. The community really, I mean, you got to think in 1913, little girls didn't come up missing, or at least you didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
And Newcastle, I love the way Colleen Steffen, she has written a book and it's waiting to be released. And she's got a great theory that talks about how Newcastle was a very sleepy town, and we had the railroads were now coming through, because again, the railroads hadn't been around very long, so strangers were coming, and we hadn't started talking to our children about stranger danger.
We don't have outsiders around here,
right?
Yeah.
So
and she makes some good points. That's her theory.
that
she
a
was
stranger
grabbed off
took
the
her.
street. We don't agree, and we never will. But we'll never change each other's minds. But she raises some good points.
Yeah.
The people were coming and going. They had the interurban, the trains coming through. People wouldn't be noticed that much to take. And there were reports that a middle-aged woman was seen getting on one of the trains, I think, down on Broad Street at the depot down there with a girl, but which turned out not to be true.
There had also been reports of a child. It was a man that was violating children around the same time. I believe one before and then one after.
One shortly before and one shortly after that were.
They caught that person, right?
No.
They didn't?
So you've got all these theories
identified.
going around town as to, this girl was abducted by the gypsy. She was abducted by some lady at the train station, some guy that's been having their way with kids. But the dad got arrested.
Yeah, it's they had the first prosecutor in the case, H.H. Evans, asked for a grand jury in October of 1913. I think he always suspected somebody in the household all along, and he said so after they were arrested 14 months later, actually. And he was no longer a prosecutor. But so he called the grand jury. They were scheduled to talk to like 100 witnesses or something. I think they only got through like 30 or 40. And the judge said, a lot of the grand jurors were farmers, and they weren't making any progress. They deliberated, or they had the case for about a week, and they said, the farmers need to get back to their work, and you're not getting anywhere, you're not getting anything new. The prosecutor said he actually had 3 more people ready to subpoena, but
it was people like Cade Coger.
Yeah,
No, real farmers, not fake
farmers.
That's what it was.
Oh, no.
And one thing interesting that happened when they were hearing testimony from all these people was once Frankie Winters, the brother, was in, Dr. Winters was going up and down Broad Street just having a hissy fit. He did not want his son to be interviewed.
Yeah, Evans said that
and he was drunk.
Doc Winters was drunk on the street waving Frankie's subpoena around and cursing the judge and the prosecutor. And he was said to have drank a lot. So I'm not sure how much of a dental practice he had.
Well, but they the police ended up searching the Winters' home, right?
Right.
And they find a bloody and burnt red sweater, which she was said to be wearing. They find a bow that she was said to be wearing.
Right.
I mean,
and this was May of 1914. Yeah, 14 months later, the private detective from Indianapolis named Robert Abel showed up on the scene and was only here for a couple of weeks, I think, and said he got a phone call from somewhere and went and asked for a warrant to go look in the basement. And found, what people hadn't found in 14 months. He's here for a few weeks and got a clue. Don't know what that was, but and finds this a red sweater with a burn hole in it, a ribbon, a man's undershirt with blood on it, and a local chemist said it was human blood that was over a year old. So,
and he found this under. Is it 8 feet of dirt?
No. Well, they did dig up the basement, dig up the floor down about 8 feet, I guess.
Yeah.
But they found this behind the furnace in some cement blocks, I think, with dirt on top of it. So there was never any explanation for the burn hole. The parents had different. They claimed it was a nephew's sweater, and Dan Monroe, the family friend, couldn't identify whether it was the sweater she had on that day or not. One person, I think, said it was. One said it wasn't. So, but they were arrested anyway, and the Winters and Ross Cooper, and charged with conspiracy to commit a felony. Abel, the private detective, eventually, after a short time, wanted only Bird, Winters, and Cooper to be charged with murder. The prosecutor at the time, Walter Myers, wouldn't do that. And so Abel finally left town
After the evidence had come up missing,
And
correct?
when the trial came up, and so they were arrested.
Yeah, so the evidence went missing.
Well, and
They were released on bond, and then the judge set the trial for July 10th of that year of 14. Announced ahead of time that he was going to ask to have the charges dismissed. So they showed up for trial, and by that time, apparently the evidence was gone, and
it was supposedly locked in a safe.
the mayor, Leb Watkins, who ran as an independent, was elected, took over in January 14, said he was going to be locked in a safe somewhere.
Because
Don't know if it was
the mayor should politically be in charge of evidence in a criminal investigation, right?
Exactly.
That should be his or her role.
That's
a lot
right.
of this has a lot to do. It seems that it has a lot to do with politics. First off, in the middle
there was a lot of politics.
in the middle of it, you have a change of hands when it comes to the sheriff, the chief, the prosecutor.
Right. He changed between 13 and 14. He changed the sheriffs, police chief, prosecutors, all of that from 13 to 14.
But the judge stayed the same, which
Yeah.
is infamous judge of Indiana.
Judge Ed Jackson. Yeah, we
Ed
talked
Jackson,
about him
yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
He was like a wasn't he like a grand dragon
He was
or something in the
yeah.
KKK?
He was something in the KKK.
Yeah.
It's very interesting if you watch the film. Our judge has a KKK skull. They wore
There we go.
they wore pins, and so we found it at the Geyer. And
I hope he didn't like leave that on after shoots and like went out to eat or something.
And you got to remember, like, a lot of this cast are millennials and we're very progressive people. So this was very, kind of like touchy. But then again, it was like, oh, we got to, like we,
Oh, yeah.
we
and
found this.
And that's a robe from a judge. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we should say whose robe. it is.
Yeah, maybe not. So it was interesting, and we really got a lot of enjoyment out of little things like that we would know, that we did.
Yeah, and
Little Easter eggs
I didn't
for you.
know that.
Mhm, yeah,
I didn't know that until after we were
yeah,
finished. I didn't see it, and
yeah.
I didn't know that, but I thought that was a great touch. Yeah, we had found a 48 star flag that I
Right.
think you found at Geyer.
And we hung it at the
It was-
courthouse.
It was,
Oh,
they
nice.
Is that
had-
right? Was Arizona a state yet? It should have been 47.
No, it was 48. No, it was only 48.
Yeah, it would have been 48.
Well, I know Hawaii and
Alaska.
Alaska, but I don't know what year Arizona became.
Yeah, there were 48.
All right.
So
It's challenging, Eldon. I don't want to find any inaccuracies in this thing at any level.
Hope I haven't.
We
missed
did our best. That's exactly what I would do.
so we-
like, Eldon, is this period? Like,
I think,
held up a prop or something.
There was a typewriter at the train depot in Connersville.
Yes,
that,
we had to strike.
Daryl Smith, who's a friend of mine who writes for the Connersville paper, just showed up that day when we were down there, and so just walked into this, and I happened to know him. So we were looking around inside the depot, we were getting ready to shoot, and I saw that typewriter, and I thought, maybe 1930 or 40, and Daryl said the same thing. So you did take it out.
Yeah, we took it out. I was like, it's got to go. Eldon said
It
no.
was turned out to be a
Eldon
good
said
idea.
no.
We had like a
Because-
5-year buffer.
What we
If it
found-
was 1915 or 1918, like we maybe wouldn't have been so.
We did find some online that looked like about that year.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good idea to take it out of there.
But when
yeah,
two
those little-
reporters
those
tell
little
you
things.
to take a typewriter
Yeah,
out, that's
they
not
know
that
they're
you do it.
typewriters,
right?
darn it.
You
They do.
it.
Yeah.
These fellows been
Especially if they fought in
reporters
the war,
since
yeah.
since typewriters were.
Yeah, right. We did. We used them at the Muncie Star when I started working there. We had typewriters. 1978.
Did you have the nice new ones that you could actually go back and erase on them?
No. No, he had old manual typewriters.
So tell me about casting. How because I wound up getting cast in Smoke and Mirrors, which was produced here
Yeah, I saw
over
you
Labor
put
Day
that on there.
weekend
We'll talk
about
about
4
that.
years ago.
Talk about Sandy Slavin a little bit later.
And Sandy did a movie, and I was my house. Travis White offered up my house as a set, and the next thing I knew, somebody died in my garage, and I had a murder take place that was so poorly acted that they couldn't use the scenes from inside of the house. But the garage scene happened. They wound up having to rewrite the movie completely because the paid actors in the movie couldn't get the stuff right. That was
But you're on
inside.
IMDb now.
But I was an extra, and Sandy
Cool.
put it all on IMDb. So if you search for Jeremiah Morrell on IMDb, I am a credited actor. So maybe when Catherine 2 comes out, y'all can hit me up. And I can continue my resume. But that's one of the reasons why this movie was so appealing to me to have you guys on, is because we've had this interesting niche of local art. Obviously, Robert, Indiana was here, and we've got the music scene that's come from Henry County, and then
Cameron Grimm did a Stephen King project.
Cameron
recently.
Grimm's done some, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 After 5 productions, and they're planning to do a lot more.
So there's been a great art scene, and whether it's for us in a content creation role on a podcast or creating movies or plays.
There has emerged in the last several years.
It definitely catches our attention. So that was the tweak to me to say, yeah, I definitely want to learn about.
Yeah, because it's a local story. You had local actors. It was produced locally, filmed locally. It's right up our alley, Jer.
Yeah, so
Super
casting, we primarily used the main characters from the play, and we just did open auditions the way the Geyer usually does them. We post, and people come, and we hold two, and then we call and beg people to take parts because we didn't have enough people show up for auditions. That's 90% of how the Geyer smaller ones do. I heard that Les Mis, they had a great turnout. They just casted for it out there. That show's coming soon, so it should be fantastic.
You might tell them how you found Madeline Lowder, who plays Catherine Winters.
So I'm writing the play, right? And like I said, Bud is doing Monsters Come Out of the Closet, and I go in. My older daughters were in the play, and I see this little girl, and she would have been maybe 8, and I was like, oh my gosh, she kind of looks like Catherine Winters. And then I see her act, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's fantastic, and she is. She's absolutely fantastic. She's got so much talent. And so I said to myself, like, that's who I want. And she came to the audition, and she blew us away. And she's got a very good work ethic. I mean, we pushed this little girl downstairs. We crammed her in multiple times.
A lot of takes, a lot of retakes on that.
Yeah, so she was snatched, she ran, she was tired, she was in, especially when we at least halfway through the filming, she was in every scene. So she worked, man. She just worked. And since then I've seen her grow so much as an actress anyway. And I think back to like when I was, an aspiring actress as a young girl. And if someone would have given me this opportunity, I mean, it just would have been like, oh my gosh. So I really like, seeing her, and she's so humble about it. And she's just absolutely fantastic. And that was really how the cast kind of went. A good friend of mine, Shyla Ward, plays Bird. Greg Kreider, who does
Bastion Kreider,
yes.
Depends upon when you know him.
Right.
So if you went to high school with him, he's Greg, and now he's Bash.
Right, so he's Greg to me because I went to high school. We've been friends for a very long time, and he does his barbecue now, which is fantastic. And so he plays Dr. Winters, and then Spencer Lowe plays Frankie, and I've been a hairdresser for 15 years and locally, and I did his mom's hair, and he was active out at Geyer as well. So it was Jake Serber. There was just a lot of
Alexander.
Yes. Oh, yeah. so you know.
Yes.
Right. So he plays William Ross Cooper.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic. Shyla actually told me, she was like, you should get a hold of Jacob because I think he would be a really good Mr. Cooper. And I did, and he came, and he was exactly what I wanted. And so then the other parts that we casted for, I held an open audition. We posted it. People spread it word of mouth. And I think we had like 60 people show up to that. We casted the gypsies from there. Some smaller roles, supporting roles that were townsfolk.
Derek Crane plays
yes.
plays Dan Monroe. And
Shyla actually told me about him as well.
Really?
So it's like, you guys, I'm sure have found once you know one person, you know a million people in this town. And
the way your networking works.
And through Eldon, I know every single person in Henry County and surrounding areas. So
you do now.
Yeah, he actually linked me up with Mark Orr. I believe that's who you told me to contact him. That he knew.
We know Mark.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm talking, these fellows are up at 3:00 in the morning answering my questions about Catherine Winters, and loving it. And so it was just, like I said, a lot of things were just one phone call away. I mean, we got a $250,000 train, one phone call. So, it's just really interesting when you start to reach out to your community, and you've got all these people involved, and people do want to help you. I like to think that the aspiring artist in this area, there should be no reason why you can't find something to do with your art and your talent, because there are people out there that are very interested in a lot of different things as far as, artists, theater, music go in this area.
And the other two, I think maybe who have continuing parts in the show were Seth Carter, who plays the police chief, and the late Kenny Carter, who plays the sheriff.
Yeah.
So the police chief, really quick. I saw on the silent movie, it said contact police chief, and now I can't remember his first name.
James Balsall.
Right,
yeah.
And I saw that, and I'm like wondering in my head. I was like, Balsall, in Henry County. I wonder
That's
if
a legendary name.
Yeah. and then right after I thought that, Eldon was like, look out for the name James Balsall, because that's Richard's great grandfather. I was like, oh,
it was, and Richard, we had when we shot, we were able to get the courtroom in the courthouse for our final weekend.
And the courthouse is where they actually held.
That was the trial.
Yeah, it was the original. And, we even thought that they would have been standing in the exact same spots.
The trial and probably the grand jury up there, too. I mean, the police station was in the basement of the courthourse at that time.
Oh.
But,
where was the jail?
Same place it is now. Since
Really?
Since 18-something. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The old jail, it was the same location.
Huh.
And
No shell buildings?
No. And
playing the hits, Dakota.
and it was, and it was great for the commissioners to allow us to use the courtroom for that whole weekend. That was probably my favorite of the 5 weekends over the year that you guys filmed. I think was probably my favorite because some of it actually happened there. And and we had shot the grand jury scenes in there, and Dick Balsall was one of our 6 grand jurors.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Having his family, having
Connected
been
from the beginning.
one of the people, yeah.
So you guys have got this shot, and your trailer is out. So you're in the editing process now, and then trying to determine how you're going to get to theaters or how you're going to distribute. That's the part of the process you're in now?
That's part of the process. So, of course, our release dates have been pushed back because that's how these projects go, especially when you're doing 90,000 fundraisers to fund it yourself. So, which has been wonderful. Our sponsors and our fundraisers have funded the entire thing. I mean, of course, the cast members and have put in more than their share of donations and time, and lost receipts along the way and things like that. But we didn't mind. But we had a little hold up with the music. So of course, when you go to do music, if you're going to potentially make any kind of money off your project, you have to have the copyrights and this, that, and the other. So it was just easier to just have all original music. And I had done a Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys are probably familiar with that, but it's a way to raise money for your project. Pretty much you get prepaid for a movie or whatever it is. So I had started this Kickstarter project, and it has a little note where you can leave and say what you need as far as, other things to contribute to the movie, what you need. And
in-kind contributions instead of just cash if you need.
Yeah. What else could you
other
do?
supplies.
Right. So I put that we needed music and, stuff like that. I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, but Jaro or Jay, he is from Slovakia. Yeah. And he hit me up and was like, hey, I make music and I'd love to help you out. And I'm like, okay.
Young composer over there.
Yeah. And he's won awards, and he's fantastic. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So I sent him some inspirational music. I used a lot of Friedrich Chopin when I was writing as inspiration. So I sent him that and some other. I sent him the music that was originally written when she went missing, and he came back with a full score, and we sent that off to the editor. And so now he is editing scenes, adding music, and fixing the sound and all that.
Earlier this month, you guys had another fundraiser,
right.
And it was a performance that I think you were both involved with. The VFW on, is it May 12th, I guess?
Right.
And a buddy of ours actually was the guy that did the video for you.
He did,
Scott Fleener.
Right.
So what was that about, and are there more events like that planned as you're trying to get this into theaters?
Yeah, it was I think you say we may need one more. I'm not sure.
Well, see, so we have this, we are all actors and artists, so we want our red carpet, and we have all these children involved, and, a lot of actors that have been, and artists that have been, musicians that have been around for a long time, and this is a really big deal to us and our little Catherine family and our little movie, indie film, low budget type thing, and we would like to do a premiere. I mean, it was a great project, and I have faith that it's going to be really impressive. And so we want one final event as somewhat maybe of a reunion and a release party. So we did do a fundraiser recently, little jazz and dinner night. We had some guest singers, Sydney Dungy, Sarah Griffith, Maddie Lauder, who plays Catherine, Shiloh Ward, pretty much anyone that's been involved with the movie that can also sing fantastically, by the way. And then we had the Jazz Kings, Eldon Pitts, Larry Abram, Tim Wilkinson, and Richard Hawk, our little band, a little jazz band that we have. And so we did just a spaghetti dinner and a little jazz show. We raised $800 for that.
It went very well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it went really well. So that's how we've done all of this. Is it's just been private donations from people who have faith in us, or backbreaking fundraisers.
So we've had a lot of politicians on this show that don't know how to ask for money or raise money. I'm going to put you on the spot like we do every one of the politicos. How do they give to the cause? What's the website, or how do they support right now if they want to get involved?
So we do have a Facebook page. You can go to. Is it just called Catherine Winters?
It's just Catherine on Facebook.
Oh, Catherine. And if you will, you can link it on your page or something. But and we have a PayPal account. You can donate there. We do have a GoFundMe. I haven't had it up. I haven't promoted it in a little while.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's still there. I just haven't posted it in a little while. And then we have a website.
Yeah, I can never remember the website.
Yeah.
I have to look it up.
And I just got a new phone, so that's not on that one either. But again,
but it's on the Facebook
yes,
page.
it is. So you
and
can do that.
There's a to donate as far as donating. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as donating, you can do that, or you can pre-order a movie.
Right.
And eventually, or here before too long, we will be selling tickets to the premiere as soon as we get the actual dates and locations, venues, things like that. So we do plan on. We are hoping to show it at the castle specifically.
We're working on that.
We're working on that, and so that would be a dream come true to see it in my childhood theater.
Yeah, I mean that would be the ideal place if we could
Absolutely.
work it out.
Well, and it sounds like the castle. Obviously, the castle's in a period of transition too, but this is the perfect kind of a movie for the Castle Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And with the success that you had in the Geyer, and the buzz of having a local movie released in it, what kind of length are you expecting this to be? Is this going to be a full feature 90-minute movie, or is this going to be
hour
a
and a half,
60-minute?
90-minute is the goal. We are doing updates and kind of. You love to see at the end of Based on a True Story, you love to see the real photos and the real, the updates. So we will have that. So maybe even a little longer than 90 minutes.
So
do you have the final quote by Dr. Winters? Right before he died, he said, "I'll finally get to know what happened to Catherine."
So that was in the screenplay. And it did get cut.
No!
Right? Yeah,
that's one of my favorite parts.
I know it was in the play, and it was the last line of the play right before he coughs up blood and dies. Yes. So I know it did not make the movie. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things, that it's almost like when you take a book and you turn it into a movie.
Oh yeah, it would have been 9 hours long.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there was things that we had to kind of let go, and our project manager, she gets angry with me sometimes when we talk about all the stuff that we wanted to do that we just couldn't do, and honestly I loved this project, but I was ready to be done. I mean, this is 3 years, and I know real filmmakers out in Hollywood, they do stuff for 5-10 years, but they're getting paid big bucks for that. So it's like I was just ready. I'm ready to move on to a new project.
Well, you're out. Dakota and I are the same way about our election series. Everybody loved it, and we're looking at ourselves going, "Oh my God, we're going to kill ourselves."
Yeah.
We're doing 3 shows a week on the same subjects, and you start to get tired of talking about the same stuff all the time. So we understand, even though it's a passion project.
Yeah.
A few more months, you get to do it all over again.
That's right. I'm sure we'll be crying about solar farms and commercial goat milking operations, Eldon. It'll be a new set of issues this fall.
I mean, you got the general election coming up.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think the thing about this project that will be the best about the next project is any funds that we make. We have a little board that will talk about where we're going, what we're going to do with those. But I think collectively we know that there will be another project. And so to not have to do fundraisers.
There is?
Oh, well, yeah, of course there is, Eldon. You're playing bass the whole time.
Catherine too, is...
yeah. I'm
not sure what it'll be about. But,
yeah.
Do you have an idea or
thoughts
as to what the next one's going to be?
I'm a writer, so of course I have 1,000 thoughts, a bunch of unfinished thoughts and jots and all this, and random notebooks laying around my house everywhere. But I probably something more along music, actually original music and some music videos, newer.
Yeah, I was going
like
to say about the band. The band is great because it came out of the movie.
Yeah.
We shot a jazz bar scene at the Snedigers, and Larry Abrams and Tim Wilkes and I had done the music for the play, so Kandice wanted to do a song called Frankie and Johnny, so I watched a video of one of those and thought clarinet would be good with that, so I contacted Richard Hawk, who's one of the best
Oh, he's
around.
fantastic.
Clarinet and sax, and so he joined the group, and we shot the scene there doing that song at Snedigers, and then we did a fundraiser at Snedigers with the band after that, and I think we kind of thought, why not keep this band together? So we're working on it now, rehearsing and trying to get ready to work up enough songs so that we can start booking, hopefully.
So that's a project. I have 4 kids, so of course that's a project, But no, I don't know what the idea. It's almost like it's right on the tip of my tongue type thing. But of course, the funding will kind of lead me in whatever direction. I have no interest in doing more fundraisers. I mean, absolutely no interest. I mean, of course, it's fun to get with the cast and this, that, and the other. But we set up and tear down everything.
Yep.
I mean, we cook the food, we clean. We do everything. From moving tables and all that is even the sets. We didn't have a crew come in and do that for us. We're getting up at 3:00 in the morning and grabbing some Jack's Donuts and going to set and setting it up. So that was Jack's Donuts was fantastic. We had Jack's Donuts on set every single time.
every weekend.
Every weekend. So yeah, I don't know what, but there will be something. And like I said, there's a lot of unfinished thoughts in these notebooks that I have lying around, and with the talent that I personally have not discovered, but
what you have available as a resource in the community, you want to continue working together.
Yes, of course.
It makes sense.
And we've made such good friends, and I mean that's so cliche to say, but I mean it really is. I mean, 4 or 5 people that I speak to on a daily basis that have come from this project or been rekindled through this project, and it's fantastic, and it's awesome to be around like-minded people and people who. We live in this small town of Newcastle or surrounding area, and we grew up with, kind of with this sagging head, like, oh, it's Newcastle. But when you go out there and you put yourself out there and you look for it, it is there.
And there's a lot of talent here, musical talent, acting talent. There really is. And one of the other things I wanted to mention that we were able to use in the movie too was from the Henry County Historical Society. And Gene Ingram got their 1911 Maxwell for us to use, shooting a scene at a local cemetery out east of town. Batson Cemetery. And Mercury, I think, was really impressed with that car. And it looks great, and it was perfect. So
Mercury would walk on set and be like, "Are you kidding me? How much did you pay for this?" The first one that we did, Eric Carrender let us use, and that was Kenny Carter, the late Kenny Carter's connection there, but let us use his land, and he had
set up a gypsy camp.
Wagons that were original, and horse and buggy, and
a campfire.
Mercury walked on set, and he was like, "Wow, what did you pay for this set?" And I was like, "What do you mean? We didn't pay anything for this set."
That's awesome.
And he's other than the costuming and the props, but 90% of those we found at Geyer, and he said, "This is a $30,000 set. You didn't pay anything for it." I was like, "No."
That's sweet.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
And then again with the train, I mean, that was I kind of gave a rough estimate in my head that we made $1 million movie on a $15,000 budget.
Yeah,
so.
That's sweet. Mm-hmm. So, before we start getting into final thoughts and things, I want to know what your guys' theories are.
I think you're going to have to watch the movie to see the theory, aren't you?
I want to know what Eldon...
The theories are in there.
They said they're totally different.
It has, and I don't think it takes away from the movie at all, or from...
the ending. Don't blow the ending, Eldon. No.
Well, I'm not sure. The movie?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the ending. No, I was just going to talk about some notes that I found at the museum last year that I'm pretty sure I know who wrote them, that indicate that a man named Al Sherry, who was supervisor at the Big Four Railroad where Ross Cooper worked, told this to a relative, apparently, and in about 1950 that Cooper had brought a box or some boxes to the Big Four Depot a couple nights later after Catherine disappeared to ship to himself somewhere out of another state. And they tried to track the shipment down. They couldn't find it. And I think that's probably pretty much what was thought at the time. The detective, Robert Abel, said at the time that when he came in that he had evidence that a large box or trunk was taken down there and shipped. So it goes along pretty much with that, with what some people thought back at the time.
So do you think the family would have done that? Or do you think it was and used him as the person to get her out of town, or do you think it was independent of that?
There was the late Charlene Perry researched for 30 years the case, and then her daughter Lisa Perry finished the book.
They lived in
about
the home
Catherine Winters.
for a period of time.
Charlene lived there
that's
for,
cool.
for about 6 or 7 years, I think. And
Is Lisa who was at the Courier Times
right.
for a period of time? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing that Charlene had always said, that she had been told that this is what had happened at something. And Charlene interviewed a woman named Mildred Popejoy in about 1988, I think, who told Charlene that she was a friend of Frankie Winters, and that at some point Frankie told her that they were all at home, and that Catherine said something and Bird hit her and knocked her off the chair. And Frankie said they made him leave the room. They closed the doors, and somebody carried her out, and that was the last time he ever saw her. So that had to be the day she disappeared, obviously. If that's all true, combined with what this Al Sherry claimed happened 2 days later, I think that pretty well says what happened. It might have been accidental, probably was. This detective had claimed that Cooper and Bird Winters were having an affair. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Maybe Catherine saw that, and maybe they decided to kill her for that reason. I don't know. That's pretty drastic, but I think it was probably accidental. But they covered it up, so they didn't report it. And whether Dr. Winters had any knowledge of it or not, I don't know. I think the one prosecutor, Evans, thought that he knew what had happened, but he wouldn't say. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much what. And like I say, Colleen Steffen, a good friend of mine, a journalist from Ball State, and who also worked at the Muncie Star for a while, believes that she was grabbed off the street, and she makes some good points for that.
Even since the journal entries have been found, I haven't spoke to her since.
Well, we really haven't. Yeah, we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
it
we need
much,
to have coffee.
Yeah,
we need to see what her.
We've exchanged some emails and messages on Facebook, but we haven't really talked about. I know that won't change her. I don't think.
No, you don't.
She's pretty skeptical of everything. So, and she has a right to be. But so we'll never change each other's minds.
So Matt Pierce is still on. He was on our show a couple weeks ago, a detective for the Henry County Sheriff's Department. Is he still actively working on this case, or have they kind of let it slip by?
I have no idea.
It's not an open case down at Henry County anymore.
I believe when when Lisa Perry read the new clue, the journal entries, that she did take it to the police station. And I don't remember when we interviewed her in the courthouse. I believe that's what she said that day. I'm not sure what came of it, but I think that she did, turn it over to them.
I think so, yeah. I don't know. I haven't talked to them. I don't know who was looking into it. But I have talked to prosecutors, a couple of different prosecutors, and when I did a 5-part series on it, in fact, for the Muncie Star years ago, I talked to Kit Crane, who was prosecutor, I think, at the time, to ask him, because the prosecutor, I think politics were involved, but he decided to dismiss the charges. And Kit Crane, who's a circuit court judge now, said, that if you lose the case and they're found not guilty, new evidence comes up later. Obviously, you can't retry them. Now, I understand that, but and it's easy for me to say, I would have gone ahead and taken them to trial anyway, but just see what happens. I mean, they might have gotten the conviction, maybe, maybe not. But so they walked away, and there was never anybody convicted for doing anything to her. So.
But supposedly he searched or for a period of time after, a significant period of time. I mean, and even you have his last quote as
all of his life, yeah.
27 years,
thousands of dollars of his own money.
Yeah, what I read was between 1914 and 1915, he spent what was it, like $2,600 of his own money, which put it in the inflation calculator. It's that
Right.
would be $60,000 of today's money that
Yeah,
he spent in a year.
He searched, and I can't remember where I got this piece of information, but I believe he helped find another missing girl up from Florida. I think she had been missing from Florida.
I think
Is that right,
they
Eldon?
did over the course of him going to identify people. Did turn up some girls that were missing, but they weren't Catherine's.
Right.
Right.
So
He looked at dead bodies and
did have a benefit. But I think, he died. He died, spent a lot of his own money, claiming that the gypsies. He still believed the gypsies.
Yeah, that was his theory.
And the one prosecutor, Evans, after the trio were arrested, said, that Dr. Winters, the half of the story would never be known until Dr. Winters told what he knew. He said he always suspected the Winters' home life was not happy, and that he knew more than he was telling. So, but I think he knew the gypsies weren't involved. The one detective, like I say, tracked them all the way to Pittsburgh and said they definitely weren't involved.
I've even heard that gypsies stopped coming through this area because they knew that Dr. Winters would.
Yeah, that could be.
That's why we don't have a gypsy problem anymore.
That's one way to get rid of the gypsies.
That's the reason. All right. Well, I think we're at that point in the show. We probably ought to start wrapping things up. Eldon, do you have any final thoughts? Anything to pitch? Any, the day job for you? If you do have a day job, is the Middletown paper
at the Middletown News that I freelance for them and have since I retired from the Muncie Star in 2002. And it's a great paper. The Cooper family, Drew and Sue Cooper and Michael and Joey, do a great job with the paper. It was established in 1885, and I think they took it over in 1999. I think Michael told me.
Well,
and they
say
do a great job
on your behalf. You cover almost every county meeting of relevance. So even though it says it's the Middletown paper, it's a once a week summary of the public meetings in Henry County at a bare minimum. Obviously, there's additional information on Middletown, but for the Henry County side, it's a tremendous value.
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can with county government, particularly the Middletown Town Council and. County government, basically. I'd like to cover more city council, more city government things, and we'll try to do that in the future. But I think it just looks good, and they're a great family to work with and to work for, and they do a great job down there. And people can subscribe and pay for it and subscribe online on their website. It's themiddletownnews.com, I think so. And do freelance for the Curry Times a little bit sometimes too. And enjoy that too. So I didn't want to quit altogether when I retired. So
I don't know if I want to retire like Eldon, where I'm still out there covering, looking like I'm a full-time guy. Although the podcast, if the podcast is what we were doing, we're retired. That's a different thing.
You must have to really love your job to retire from your job
and still do the job
to continue doing it.
Well, I do enjoy it. I mean, I've done it for so long and most of the officials, city and county officials, have come and gone.
You got to cover the great overthrow of county government in 2018, Eldon. I mean,
so when I was working at the local radio station here back in 1971, it was when Paul Osborne was mayor, actually. So I went through Paul Osborne,
Never even heard that
name. Osborne Park, man.
Scott Bowser, and Gary Markham, and all the way up, and then Bud Ayers, and all the way down the line. So gotten to know.
Did you ever meet Al Bundy?
No. or Omar Bundy either.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. This has been a lot of fun to finally get you on the show.
There's more, so much more.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, yes.
He's if it wasn't for this movie and the work you've done, he wouldn't be here today. He would not come on the show. Eldon doesn't do interviews, so having him
more
provide
about
it
the
all
story.
is a miracle.
I think you mean more about the story.
Oh yes, no, that's what I mean.
You could do a 3-hour show.
Yeah, I've talked to this man, on a daily basis for a period of time for 3 years, and there's more. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh, really? Also, I get confused now because of, of course I embellished when I wrote the screenplay, so now I'm like, did I write that, or is that actually true? I can't remember which one is true or not.
Historical fiction.
Yes, that's what we labeled it, historical fiction.
So, Kandice, if people want to support you, obviously in this, but the day job too, you if people want to get their hairs cut, they can come see you.
Yeah, so I work at a barbershop called Gents Barbershop in Greenfield. And we're 9 to 9 Monday through Friday and 9 to 3 on Saturday. And
You hear that, Clay? 9 to 9.
Oh. We have one of our county councilmen is our barber. Dakota and I go see the same fellow. He's one of our co-hosts.
Oh, yeah.
Has the MVP barbershop here in Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to show up between 9 and
9 and 5.
He's got the old 9 to 5 job
Right.
Monday to Friday.
Not Mondays.
Should have said something about him on here.
But we have some great talent in there. The guys that I work with, the gentlemen that I work with are fantastic. We have wonderful clients. It's a great facility. And then obviously another shout out that I'd like to give is the Geyer. That would be my favorite pick if people were going to go support. I mean, aside from my personal project, is the Geyer Opera House. They've done so much for theater in this area, and there's always something going on out there. So if you have that theater bug, and if you got the bug to be on stage or backstage or downstage or understage or whatever there's all kinds of stages out there. And
You want to do a play with me, Jer?
Very active.
oh, do it. It's
Boss Hog of Liberty on ice.
it's a fantastic place for all ages, literally, and all types of skills, costuming, even just maintenance. I mean,
Well,
there's all kinds of stuff.
They were a big benefit, a big help
Yes.
in this project.
And
all along the way. With
in my
costumes
personal
and-
life, the Geyer, I mean, and it's an entity to me now that, when I think of course, actors come and go and board members change around and things like that. There's your core people that are usually always there, but the Geyer itself as a structure.
It's an institution.
Yes. I mean, and a lot of people, if you talk to people who've been active out there, they'll tell you the same thing. It's a
great place.
It's a fantastic place. So
I think that I did 2 plays out there, and then I auditioned for another one. I didn't make it.
Oh.
And then I never went back.
No.
Oh, and you mentioned, you talked about Sandy Slavin earlier. And I have a story in the paper this week about the film that she's going to be working on, starting next spring, called I Only Want You. And
Who do you want?
I think he was talking to you.
she's going to start next spring now, I think, and shoot it in Newcastle. She did one before called Losing Breen, which was shot mostly in Connersville, I think, but she wanted to do this one in Newcastle, and she just recently got Patty Spittler on board to have a small role in that movie and help
It's a
promote
big
the movie.
name in Indianapolis and
And
Central Indiana.
Don Stuck, who was a Q95, I think, is also going to be in there. So she's going to start filming next spring, I think, on that. It's been pushed back a little bit, but so she's done a lot, and she's planning to do it quite a bit, I guess. Just as Cameron Grimm, apparently, with his 5 After 5 Productions, wants to do a lot more. So
Very cool.
there's a lot going on here.
All right.
Dakota.
My final thoughts are that I'm ready to go to Nashville. And that's about it.
Ready for the honky tonk?
Yep, I am. You got to keep me from buying 3 pairs of boots this time, though.
If you buy 3 pairs of boots, I just want you to buy one of them for me. It's my weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
We went to, last time for his bachelor party, we went in, I guess it was October of last year.
Yep.
And we went to a little boot shop on Broadway. And
It wasn't little, it was huge.
we were in a boot shop for about 7 minutes. Dakota had 3 pairs of boots and spent just under $500 on boots in 7 minutes.
It was like $300.
It was.
And it was buy one, get 2 free.
A
was the
guy at the
most-
barbershop was telling me about them, and they were amazing.
It was
boots.
the
nice
most
boots.
incredible, efficient use of time and buying footwear I've ever seen in my life. It was truly something.
They
to
have it
remember.
all laid out by size, so it's not like it takes that much time. You just go to your size section, you're like, these are my top 3.
This,
I'm done.
If you're going to buy boots, Nashville is clearly where Americans go to buy boots. And what
Yep.
better way to
And
have
cowboy
a
hats.
buffet of boots? Nashville.
I'm bringing my Pearl Snap shirt. I'm going to bring at least one, just for the sport of it. See what happens. See how we do.
So if I could ask you quickly, we were talking about this before.
Sure.
You started here about covering that you folks do cover some city and county meetings. And if you want to do more of that, or because people really enjoy that, and it would be great if the city and county government could do their own, and hopefully that'll happen one of these days. But
I think Aaron Dickens working on that for the city right now.
okay, yeah, well, I think the county is working on.
Well,
it
he's
too.
dipped his toes with his Facebook Lives anyway. With
Mhm.
talks too. I like to.
Yeah,
listen to him.
both Clay Morgan and Aaron Dickin have done a great job of doing summaries after their meetings on Facebook. And Clay's
Right.
taken the Facebook sabbatical again, but Aaron's continued to do it and give summaries and be open and transparent
Right.
with people. But yeah, we've made it to a handful of them. We're still we're still learning the equipment and getting things that, we'll go and people will be half frustrated because something doesn't work right or doesn't sound right.
And it is a lot of work.
But we're getting better. And we've generally been very well received by the officials when we've shown up. Sometimes we have to move around a little bit or jump in the way to get the camera in the right spot or to get the sound right.
Sometimes we just set up our own table.
Yeah, at one of the park board meetings, we just said the heck with it, and we set up our own table and went with it. And it worked out okay. So
good.
I've learned in our process it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So,
Well, that's what I think with Darren
a
Jacobs. He has that in the paper today, talking about how you need to have a permission stamp from him to be able to do anything in this town.
Get a warrant, Darren.
That's right. You want to see inside my house? You can get a warrant, buddy. Let's go.
I thought we needed to talk about him sometime.
Yeah, we had to get him slipped in there at the last minute. He made the paper today, so it's fair game now.
Oh, good. I haven't
Every
seen
episode.
The paper yet.
Yeah. Oh, nobody reads the paper anymore.
Well, he made the county. He made the county commissioners meeting last night too.
All right. Well, this has been fun. Tom Egbert was in the chat earlier and asked about John Andretti, the IndyCar driver. It sounds like his cancer's returned. So I guess that's my shout out here. John's been a guy who's hosted a charity go-kart tournament and raised a lot of money for Riley Children's Hospital over the years in Newcastle.
The Newcastle Motorsports Park.
At the Newcastle Motorsports Park, and he's been fighting colon cancer for a little bit over a year, and been promoting colonoscopies and the Check It for Andretti campaign. He had a clean bill of health back in December, and it sounds like it's returned this time. So thoughts and prayers out to the Andretti family, but probably a good time to remind everybody about awareness. So when you're 45, go get checked. So with that, on that happy note, it's another Newcastle Henry County story though, and kind of close to home. Really glad we had everybody here. This was a lot of fun. Looking forward to hearing when the movie is. When you have your red carpet, we're set to go mobile. So maybe we'll do some.
That's a fantastic idea.
Some red carpet interviews and put that out in podcast form.
Just have to reach out to Lot first. Make sure it's all right with him.
Well, he's the one that he's the diva of the cast. I had to have only green M&Ms in a dressing room that faced east, and a yoga instructor with yoga pants on at all times.
With yoga pants on, yeah,
specifically.
Right. Maybe Dakota and I will wear yoga pants. On the red carpet.
Oh yes, that'd be fantastic.
All right, and watch for the band. Hopefully, we'll be out there soon.
That's it.
The Jazz Kings.
Next week, we got the guys from the Espresso podcast coming on. We're going to have a mashup with them.
That's right. Espresso, they're coming.
So that's we're going to talk sports next week. Dakota, Chase, myself, and the Espresso boys.
Sports.
See y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com, and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.